Are you a fan of classic soundtracks? Are you somebody that relishes film scores by beloved composers of yesteryear? Are you somebody that likes special editions, things that take the ordinary and make it extraordinary? Well, we need you. We need your support. Physical media is something very special, and the work of the specialty soundtrack labels is also very special. Combined together, it gives us the material that makes us happy, enjoy this medium that is film scores. So, here's something to request from you. Spread the word, have a conversation, engage, talk about what it is that you like, maybe what you don't like. Become a reviewer. Support these albums beyond their purchase and find ways to talk about them, because you never know. What might happen is something really interesting. You may get somebody interested into our world, our little niche, precious world of film scores, and they might just be the next person to further support the work that happens from the specialty soundtrack labels. So a bit of a sermon, wasn't it? But this here is the 2024 end of year happy holidays message. So 2024, let's have a think back about what's happened. Unfortunately, in the middle of the year, we lost Doug Fake of Intrada. Doug, an absolute titan in the industry, somebody that produced and worked on hundreds of soundtrack CDs. He's someone who leaves behind a tremendously impressive and long-lasting legacy. We farewell Doug. On a personal level, it's been amazing to have the support and interest and ability to work alongside people at Intrada on albums like Resurrection and Out of Africa, to work with the guys at La La Land on things like The Godfather Part 2 and The Man with the Golden Gun, and to work alongside on a daily basis with my confidant and wonderful friend, Jose Benitez from Quartet Records. It's Jose who, on a daily basis, provides ongoing support, encouragement, and kindness, and I thank him sincerely for his support this year. So let's just talk about a few albums that maybe you have or haven't added to your collection to stimulate a bit of conversation. So this year was another year of deluxe vinyl editions. And this is Breakfast at Tiffany's, the first time the actual Mancini underscore that's been heard in the film all those years has been put onto vinyl record. So that's a particularly special title, and for personal reasons, very special as well. It wouldn't be a year without some Morricone on vinyl, and here's an expanded score of his, put out by Quartet Records. Wuthering Heights in a nice deluxe package, also on a vinyl record. And here's a little off-piece one that I actually really enjoyed, which is music from the film that's in English translates to What Have I Done to Deserve This? And it's Bernardo Bonezzi's music. It's for a small ensemble, a small orchestra, but it's brimming with invention, which sometimes scores aren't. This one is. So if you're keen to take a risk, well, as I just took a risk, look at that, I nearly dropped it. Let's leave that in, shall we? We won't edit that out. Anyway. 7-inch, 45 RPM single of some Morricone music as well. This is one that I have to hand, The Pink Panther. Particularly proud of this album. It's the first time ever that the actual film tracks, the score recorded to picture, by composer Henry Mancini has ever been put out, let alone had a CD release. His album of the time, wildly popular, was a recording he made especially for that album. And just because I have them to hand, I'd like to talk about a few other Quartet CDs. Desart, starring Care Delay from 2001: A Space Odyssey fame. This is music by Billy Strange. He orchestrated and conducted for Nancy Sinatra, amongst others. But this is one of his rare forays into film scores. And what an eclectic sounding mix it is. It's sometimes big orchestra. It's sometimes very small, almost Baroque sounding quartet type stuff. It's sometimes psychedelic stuff with bass, guitar, drum kit, and in particular, the soundtrack LP versions of those type of cues really go wildly with lots of echoing screams and shrills and sound effects from the film in those particular versions. But of course, we present them music only as well. So this is the score as heard in that film. And an aspect that's particularly interesting to me, I was completely unfamiliar with it, was that it kind of evokes thoughts of Thunderball at times, thoughts of the Man from U.N.C.L.E., thoughts of even Gerald Fried of Star Trek, the original series. It's a very wildly evocative set of score cues that are present on this album. If you're willing to take a risk, go for this one. And if you don't like it, give it to somebody as a gift. That's always a possibility. Another one here, Food of the Gods and Frogs, a double header, music by Elliot Kaplan and Les Baxter. The Les Baxter stuff is represented across a handful of tracks towards the end of the CD, and that's an electronic score, quite an unusual electronic foray. However, Food of the Gods is an orchestral electronic hybrid, insofar that we're hearing an orchestra, a smaller orchestra, performing with percussion and synthesized effects. Combined together, it's quite an interesting listen, an unusual listen for essentially what would be considered a weird kind of horror film. Excellent notes by Jeff Bond in there, guiding us through what it is that we're actually listening to and what we expect to hear. Finally on Quartet, this is the NHK version of Roman Empire. It's not a long album in the sense that it's not packed to the gunwales at 80 minutes, but it's a compelling listen. Really beautifully written, orchestrated, and performed music. Check that one out as well. Other personal highlights this year, we're working on Resurrection, a Maurice Jarre score that I was completely unfamiliar with, but enjoyed immensely. It's really brought out those feelings of emotions and connection and the spirit, quite literally, I guess, in some senses, of the story. So that was incredibly enjoyable. Out of Africa, making that sound the way it probably deserved to sound. What a thrill as well. And finally, capping it off, The Man with the Golden Gun. Not to be dismissed because it had a very comprehensive album in 1974, but in 2024, it's very much expanded in film order, beautifully comprehensive. So a thrill for that one to see the light of day as well. So, speaking of physical media, one thing I would like to mention is a gentleman by the name of Spencer. Runs a YouTube channel called Damn Fool Idealistic. I can't even say this properly. Damn Fool Idealistic Crusade. I guess he's quoting Obi-Wan Kenobi from Star Wars. Is that right? I think that's right. However, Spencer's focus is on media releases of film. And his particular analysis angle is how well done was the transfer? How well done was the mastering process? And this incorporates the soundtrack that accompanies the film as we watch it as well. And sometimes the soundtrack, as in the score, that you watching this obviously like to listen to. So his channel is one that analyzes this stuff and looks through a very strict eye about what was done well and what could be improved. So as a fan of physical media that I know that you are, please check out Spencer's YouTube channel as well. So as we close out 2024, I hope that you and your family have a wonderful holiday period and a safe and prosperous 2025. I hope that the next 12 months brings you good health and happiness, and also great soundtrack listing. So, as always, thanks for watching. Happy listening.
Wow.